Does a scorned lover still lurk through the manicured gardens?
Is something still here from the doctor's dissections?
Do caretakers still oversee the house, even in their afterlife?
Find out the answers to these questions and more as we uncover the spiteful hauntings and history from the Hill-Physick House in Philadelphia, PA.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Erica.
And this is The Haunted Atlas, a Haunted U.S. podcast. In the interest of fully exploring history of certain locations, The Haunted Atlas may discuss sensitive or disturbing topics. Listener discretion is advised.
Tucked into one of Philadelphia's oldest neighborhoods stands a house that refuses to be just another relic of the city's past. Once home to a man known as the father of American surgery, at a time when pain and mortality were everyday companions, some believe this historic house still belongs to its former occupants, spirits bound not by tragedy, but unfinished business. The Hill-Physick House was originally built in 1786 by a man named Henry Hill, who was a Revolutionary War veteran and eventually a wine importer, specifically Madeira wine from Portugal.
That's interesting. I guess there would be a large market for that in Philadelphia, but it's interesting that no one had done it yet.
You're correct. The Madeira wine was an elite drink in the colonies. In fact, it was so elite that this is the drink that has said to be what they toasted at the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Did he import it? Do we know?
Yes. Okay. So he inherited the majority of the business that he ran, which was importing, from his father. Now, in order to understand the motivations of getting into the business and why importing it was great, we have to go back to the War of Spanish Succession. In 1703, a treaty called the Methuen Treaty, named for John Methuen, who was an English diplomat, was signed to increase beneficiary trades between Portugal and England. And one of the things that Portugal agreed to decrease taxes on was their wine.
Ah, so there's a huge profit margin.
Correct. He decided to import his wine from Portugal to receive the tax breaks. Now, due to this, he was, of course, extremely wealthy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, luck had nothing to do with it. He became rich as a result of old European geopolitics trickling down into colonial businesses.
Yeah, it sounds like he was smart enough to leverage as much politics as he could to be rich.
Yes. And because of this, he was able to build his house as large and fantastical as he wanted. So, for example, he added a unique feature for this time period, which was a private garden which blocked his house off, like literally like a fence, from other neighboring houses.
Yeah, I have actually been to Hill-Physick House, and the gardens are surprisingly large for Philadelphia because even during, colonial times, the houses are like row homes and were one right after another. So to have a garden at all, let alone a massive one, is such a luxury.
Honestly, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, like they're in the middle of a city. And so it's a sign of how rich they were that they can afford land.
Right.
In the city.
Yeah, it's like we're so wealthy, we don't even need to put this into, I'm going to say it again. We're so wealthy, this doesn't even need to be inside our house. We can just use it to be pretty outside.
Correct, yeah. Now, Henry lived in the house until his passing from yellow fever in 1798.
Yellow fever in Philadelphia was really crazy. It took out so many people, and people were fleeing the city.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, people were fleeing the city because they didn't know exactly how you would get it. They just knew that if you came into contact with it, you were getting sick. So they were fleeing the city to go into the country to try to get more space, fresh air, etc.
Abigail Physick bought the house in 1815, but eventually the house was transferred to her brother, Dr. Phillip Syng Physick, who moved into the place with his children.
Why did she transfer it to her brother?
So apparently, Dr. Physick had just divorced his wife, Elizabeth, which was super rare at that time. And then he took it a step further and actually banned her from entering the property at all.
That is so petty, but also kind of surprising. I don't know a lot about divorce law back then, especially because it was so rare, but It seems like it would be uncommon for the children to stay with their father versus their mother, but I, again, don't know much about the divorce laws back then.
I completely agree with you. I'm also sort of unaware of what was kind of normal back then, but I totally agree. The first thing I thought of was his children because I was like, so is this kind of like a weekend thing where they leave the house to go visit their mother, which I think was, even just saying that out loud sounds wrong.
Comical, yeah.
Yeah. After moving in, he was actually practicing medicine on the property after renovations that turned parts of the home into his medical offices. And he became known as the father of American surgery because of how many contributions he made to the field.
I guess someone has to do that. It has to start somewhere, but to be at the forefront of the medical advancements, that's really amazing. He must have had such an incredible mind to think outside of the box.
Yes, and his contributions were actually super significant. So a few of them include increasing the length of the splint for thigh fractures, the invention of the earliest stomach pump, the introduction of absorbent catgut sutures to replace silk and flax sutures, which were then used. And my personal, I can't believe that this is the person that invented this, is the development of the instruments for removing tonsils.
Yeah, something that was interesting when I toured the house is he came from a long line of silversmiths, and so he was actually able to craft his own instruments, and that's how he was able to make a lot of these advancements, because he could dream up any instrument he wanted and then physically make it.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Being at the top of your field and then also just being able to move it forward that far in your lifetime is crazy.
Not only to create the techniques, but literally to create the equipment as well.
A fun fact about that time period, actually, just as a side note, is a lot of these things at that time were performed without anesthesia, which is so crazy to me. I can't even imagine. I get nervous about anesthesia. I don't even know how I would feel going into a surgery just raw.
Yeah. When you think about removing tonsils, no anesthesia, sutures, no anesthesia. Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, because, he's known as this huge doctor for the time period, he ended up being really well connected in society and even treated some really famous names like James Madison or Andrew Jackson.
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah. He practiced his craft in the home until his passing in 1837 from what was recorded as hydrothorax and now would likely be emphysema. So issues with your lungs. I think hydrothorax was specifically liquid in the lungs, and emphysema is more just an issue with your lungs.
Yeah, hydrothorax makes sense because it's the thorax of your body and then hydro, water.
Right.
But of course, we don't say that anymore.
No. The Hill-Physick House would remain in the Physick family for another 58 years before being sold to Elise and Charles Keith in 1895, who turned the home into their private residence.
Okay, so what did they do with the medical offices then?
See, that was my question. I wasn't able to find specific restoration information, but this was a common thing, I'm assuming, because of course, medical practices used to be out of the home. Mm-hmm. And so as we're moving towards the future, people are now turning those medical offices into residences. I don't even know what I would do with that room, but it would definitely be a room I did not go into frequently.
Yeah, like a storage room.
Yeah. The boxes I put when I'm kind of moved in, but not moved in, and just keep them in there the whole time. Yeah. By 1940, both of them had passed, and the purpose of the house was changed again a couple times. And to me, it seems like a lot of the purposes were temporary. So it was first used after the Keith's death as a hospitality center for troops during World War II. It was then turned into a dance hall and studio. And I wasn't clear on how long it lasted because after this is when the house became abandoned. But apparently during that time period, a dance hall and studio probably would not have lasted long because structurally and acoustically, these types of houses didn't really support the dance hall the way it would need to be supported.
That is so random.
Yeah.
I can see it being used as a hospitality center for troops just because of the location, because it's in historical Philadelphia. A dance hall seems like they would have had to drastically change the home to do that.
Right, because I did not read about a ballroom, so...
No, there wasn't one.
Right. By 1960, the house fell into a state of disrepair because it was abandoned. Further work wasn't done on it until Walter Annenberg bought the home and restored it. And what's super interesting about his restoration is that during the entire time that he's like doing these things to the house, he was uncovering disturbing artifacts.
What were they? Were they medical tools?
That's what I would think. He then donated it to the Philadelphia Society for the Preservation of Landmarks. It was opened as a historical museum, and you can tour the building today.
Yeah, and the reason I ask about the artifacts is they do, in one of the upstairs rooms, have a lot of the artifacts laid out to be seen. I don't know if they were found on site, but things either that Physick would have used or analogous to what he would have used.
That's really cool. I love like getting to see tools and stuff from that time period.
Yeah, and despite working in medicine, I was actually getting dizzy looking at some of them because they're just so primitive in the method used compared to what we have now.
Yeah. It's no surprise that the Hill-Physick House was designated as a National Historic Landmark in 1976. But the intense reports of the paranormal hauntings contained within these walls overshadow even its incredible and lengthy history.
Sheriff, we got a lot to talk about.
Welcome to Twin Peaks. I'm your Twin Peaks veteran, Special Agent Matt Hanna.
And I'm your first-time viewer, Sheriff Hannah.
And each week, we're visiting David Lynch and Mark Frost's Twin Peaks on our new show, Welcome to Twin Peaks, a Twin Peaks rewatch podcast.
Entering the town of Twin Peaks.
We're talking dreams, damn fine coffee,
A damn fine cup of coffee.
back we're talking mysteries,
And asking the important questions like, who really killed Laura Palmer? Are the owls what they seem? And why does this town feel like a nightmare you don't want to wake up from?
It is happening again.
Whether you're a longtime Twin Peaks resident or stepping into the Black Lodge for the very first time, Welcome to Twin Peaks is your guide through the woods.
What kind of fantastic trees have you got growing around here?
New episodes every week wherever you get podcasts.
And be sure to follow our socials at Welcome to Twin Peaks Podcast for schedules and opportunities to call and write into the show.
I'm gonna turn it upside down!
The mysteries are dense and the secrets are dark.
We'll see you in Twin Peaks with a fresh cup of coffee.
With claims ranging from a jealous ex-wife to a ghostly witch, the Hill-Physick House features many haunts. The most common ghost story here is Elizabeth, who was the ex-wife.
Who didn't live in the house?
Correct.
That's so interesting.
Well, let's get into her hauntings, and I think it'll make more sense to you.
That's fair.
So she haunts the gardens. She's not actually in the house at all.
Oh.
And many people think this is because she wasn't allowed in the house, but wants to be near her children.
Oh, well, that's a very kind of sad thought because obviously she wasn't able to visit them in there. But also sweet that
I
she's still
know.
thinking of them in her afterlife.
I know, and even respecting the rules in her afterlife. I feel like if it was me, I'd be like, I'm going to do what I want.
That's what I'm saying. I almost want a redemption for Elizabeth. Like,
Yeah.
I want her to cross that barrier into the house.
Yes, and haunt everyone.
Yeah.
This is what you get for banning me. People have reported seeing her ghost throughout the garden, but specifically near a tree that was chopped down around the time of her death. There is a photo of her in the house, and visitors will sometimes report seeing an apparition, and they can actually cross-check in real time with the photo of her.
That's really cool. So the significance of the tree, was it cut down near her death because of her death or just was cut down near the time of her death?
It's just a coincidence.
Gotcha.
When she is seen, she's often accompanied by the sound of weeping,
Oh no.
which that does sadly make sense.
Yes.
The person that views the ghost is said to become overcome with sadness.
That's, we hear, that's so sad to me because we hear a lot about when individuals are hanged. Sometimes when you're in their space, you can kind of feel your throat closing a little bit.
Mhm.
And this to me is sort of similar, but instead of it being about her death, this is like about her life.
I know. It's really sad. And as a mother, I truly can't imagine literally watching from the outside as your kids grow up.
No,
That's
because,
so sad.
yeah. Well, we talked earlier about it being like weekend trips, which is sort of funny to think about, but honestly, is it more possible that she just wasn't allowed to see them at all?
Well, interestingly, when we toured the house and we asked about Elizabeth because it's the most common haunting, they said that she moved into a house kind of like diagonal from it. So she was physically close.
Oh, that's good.
But what's interesting is we asked the current caretaker about this haunting and said, "Have you seen Elizabeth? What do you think of Elizabeth?" And she said that the claims about the tree are not true and that she has never herself seen Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
But if you look up the hauntings of Hill-Physick, this is everywhere. So many people have claimed to see her. So it could be that she's only appearing to some people, people that are more open. I don't know, maybe mothers, people with children, fathers, who knows?
It's possible that the employees of the house may upset her because they're in there a lot. And so she may think that they're part of the group trying to keep her out, maybe?
Yeah, like they're on the husband's side. That could
Yeah.
be the case. Despite the caretaker saying that they didn't have any paranormal things. Come on, sir. Let's be articulate. Despite the caretaker saying that they didn't have any paranormal experiences, there are tons of reports from guests. And when we asked her if guests had said anything to her about experiences, she said she's heard quite a few things. 2 guests had an experience in the dining area. And in the dining area, it's where Dr. Physick would take his breakfast and prepare himself for the day's surgery. So he might be doing things like reviewing notes, planning out how he was going to approach the surgery, etc. And people have said that they get an overwhelming sense that he's sitting there. This specific occurrence, when these 2 felt sure that he was in the room with them, it turns out it was the anniversary of his death.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is too much of a coincidence for me to believe it's a coincidence.
Right, because, okay, maybe they knew the date of his death, but that would be, why would you go in and be like, I feel his presence very strongly. Oh, it's the date of his death.
Yes.
No one's going to do that.
No, I don't think so either.
Now, the current caretaker lives in the old servants' quarters, and there have been reports of previous caretakers hearing moving dishes within the kitchen and the servants' quarters. Sometimes dishes are actually physically moved in the morning.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they keep this house locked up. Even if you're going in for a tour, the front door is locked. There's not an entryway open to the public or anything, and you can't get into any of the gardens. So, in my opinion, it's impossible that someone were to move these dishes because there's only one person in there.
Right. I completely agree. And I also think, if it's a repeated thing, how many people, if you were able to, quote unquote, break into this house, which I'm glad that no one is able to, but if you were able to, it's like, how many people would choose to move dishes? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, that's a random thing to do when you break into a house.
Right, into a historical home with artifacts likely worth a lot of money.
Yes.
No, I'm just going to move the dishware around.
Right.
I'm not going to
even
take it.
the dishes. Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes the hauntings are just auditory, just the sound of dishes being moved. But the kitchen itself has been modernized. So I wonder if there's still the spirits of the servants and the staff there, what they think about the new kitchen, because they're unfamiliar with everything in it.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Okay, see, what I was thinking of was them like moving plates around, being like, where does this go?
That's a good point too.
But truly, them being surrounded by technology that they've never seen before is so interesting to think about. Like, yeah, I wonder what they think of everything.
Yeah, maybe the sound is them like opening and closing the dishwasher. Like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Why are these in here?
Right.
This is strange.
What do you mean a fridge has 3 doors?
Yeah, right.
2 on the top and 1 drawer? What is this?
And a water dispenser? Is it hooked up to the well? So I think there could be a bunch of things going on. Likely they want to keep serving, but the modernization could play a role. This home was featured on Ghost Hunters, and they said that the reason they went is specifically because people claimed that there were restless spirits from the dissections done.
Oh.
Now, Physick did do dissections there to help learn more about anatomy. And during that time period, there was a sort of black market for cadavers. Yes, you could donate your body to science, but that couldn't keep up with the demand for medical schools. So people would rob graves and steal cadavers. And from the historical tour that we received, it was kind of a don't ask, don't tell policy.
Yeah.
Where if the cadaver shows up, you just operate on it or, dissect to learn more. You don't ask about where it came from. For that reason, people think that this has resulted in these angry, restless spirits in the house because their grave was disturbed.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you move a body from its resting place to another location, especially in a case like this, where, you're not even just moving it to a different grave and that might disturb it even, the things that they were doing to these cadavers without consent.
Right.
I would absolutely believe that it's causing unrest.
Right. And not even familial consent. It's one thing, of course, the cadaver can't consent, but even the family. And because of this, one of the hauntings is said to be shadow figures walking throughout the house. And to me, this is kind of a metaphor for these people because they don't have an identity, just like the cadavers didn't really have an identity to the people dissecting them. There could be many reasons, of course, that they're presenting as shadow figures. There are also reports of items moving on their own and people walking through the front door as if they're entering, but then disappearing once they cross the threshold.
Whoa, that would be so insane to see in person.
Yeah.
Just like go to say hello to someone or go to like, how people do that like half smile when it's a stranger and you don't really know them and then it's just disappears before your eyes.
Especially because there's not a formal receiving area for the public. It just opens into the home. So I can imagine if you were the caretaker and the front door is locked, that's very startling.
Yes.
So going back to the feature of this home on Ghost Hunters, they did capture some disembodied voices throughout the house. And during filming, a cameraman said that he was suddenly rammed by a cart that was seemingly self-propelled.
Whoa. When you say cart, is it like a medical cart or like a shopping cart? Which I don't know why that would be in the house.
I think it was like a serving cart, like for dishes.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is. And again, some TV shows in general can be very sensationalized, but if true, that is scary.
I'm a little bit on edge always when we go into these houses, but if a random cart just hit me and I turn around and no one's there, it'd be terrifying.
It would be terrifying. Anything that physically harms you, not that this is going to harm you a significant amount, but that always puts me on edge because it feels like something doesn't want you there.
Yes. And it's with all of that activity in the kitchen with the dishes anyway, it could be that servants are kind of all around the house.
That's a good point. They're like, please move out of my way.
Yes.
That could be. A really interesting haunting of Hill-Physick House is the ghost of an alleged witch in the area.
Whoa.
Yeah, this one is interesting because her apparition, shadow figure, spirit is not seen, but heard.
Okay.
And it can be heard specifically from the gardens. People say that you can hear the shrieks of her if you're standing within the gardens of the house. And I couldn't find much on this other than this woman that was said to be a witch was ostracized from society and life, and so she's angry and continues to haunt the area, punishing the residents for not accepting her. Now, this could just be a woman that was ostracized, right?
Right.
Or I was thinking the shrieking could be Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's very possible because if people feel an overwhelming sadness, sometimes that's expressed in like a yell.
We already know that we hear her weeping.
Yes.
So, like you said, shrieking might not be that far from it.
I'm wondering if I don't, know how close the next haunted location is in relation to Hill-Physick House, but it would be interesting if the reports at houses that are close involved this figure.
I do think that they do.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense to me that she would be haunting the area, considering the fact that she's in the garden and not in the house.
But what's interesting is if someone is shrieking loud enough to hear them outside your house, you likely would be able to hear them inside.
That's true.
So that's the only part that trips me up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why I think, could it be Elizabeth? because it's garden specific.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the Hill-Physick House?
Yes, from pictures, I cannot tell you how beautiful the wallpaper must look in person. It's just so cool. There's like so many intricate details on various wallpapers throughout the house.
Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful home, and the historical tour is just a wealth of information because it's led by the caretaker, which, as I've said, lives on site. So they're very, very passionate about the house, and I highly recommend it if you're in the city of Philadelphia. I feel like I had a additional interest in it because of the medical history related to it, but I think it's appealing to everyone. And if you yourself have been to the Hill-Physick House, we would love to hear your story. You can email the team at hauntedus.com and include Haunted Atlas Hill-Physick House in the subject, or find us on social media at HauntedUS. Tune in to our next episode to see where we drop the pin on our adventure across the Haunted US. This episode of Haunted Atlas was researched and presented by Sara Sweeney and Erica Barrett, supported by research from Haunted US head writer Mitch Goff, with production assistance by David Sweeney and music by Colleen Johnson. Our executive producer is Brandon Rugsey. Haunted Atlas is a production of Haunted US. Visit hauntedus.com for more information.